Yeah, so I got Donald Ngumalo, who's an interior designer, and he helped me with the place, and it was such a beautiful experience, because part of it is you think you have to also like finish your own place. I know I'm not really good, like I don't have a great eye when it comes to like buying the right couch and buying this, but I love things that are very tasteful as well. So we went through that journey, and one of the things that he had told me, prior to even going about buying a place, was that if you're going to furnish a new place and you want to do it right, and you're going to get an interior designer or anyone to help you with those kind of things, you must make sure that you set aside 20% of the value of your property. So if you're buying a place for R1 million, set aside 20% of that, and that's how much money you're going to need to furnish top to bottom and everything that you need to invest in it. And so, doing that for me was probably one of my greatest investments, because I enjoy the space that I live in. I enjoy the space that I'm in. Coming home feels like a holiday. So I think it's really about your own personal journey. Do things when you feel it's right. Do things when it's the right time for you, because also we tend to also want to rush things, because you're seeing Uman is doing this other person's doing that. So whatever feels right to you, that's when you should do it. I have no doubt that I'm going to build my property portfolio, and also that the dream house that Karo was speaking about. That's something that I'm working towards, and I absolutely have no doubt that I will get there, and not because sort of the professional space that I'm in, but just around how calculated I am with my decisions and the process of decision making that I go through with everything that I do. So that's been the journey for me. I think one of the things that I was not prepared for, though, and stuff that I wish I knew, was the levies that come with property. And like your electricity goes up in winter because of there's a different rate that comes from the city. It shocked me this winter that I was getting charged the things I was getting charged, but those are the things that you learn, and you almost need to be prepared for, because I think we assume that once you buy a place, especially a place that you're going to live in, you just are calculating how much the bond is going to be. But then there's municipal rates and taxes. There is the complex levies if you live in a complex. There is the water, the electricity, and everything that goes with it. So actually, it's not just that you're going to be paying 5,000 rands a month because your bond is 5,000 rands, but there's also the other things that are put on top of that. So you have to be prepared for that sort of journey when you're embarking on buying a place. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Sivu. And I think one of the things that I appreciate that you brought up, especially because you're a professional and a medical doctor in particular, right? And we have perceptions, and I know where they come from, but we have perceptions when it comes to people in different professions and what we think they should acquire at certain ages. I mean, a lot of us know, and a lot of the people who are my guests, we go to varsity. The professionals, so the doctors and the engineers, for instance, the moment they graduate and they start working, back then you were buying one series almost as a standard. The moment they qualify, they're upgrading, they're buying, whether it's a 3 series or the latest one. There are all these different markers that various professions typically have, and that we also just expect. And I think as we've been growing up, sometimes it's you're going to rent, but you're renting in Sandton. So if you are an investment banker, or even the attorneys in the big firms, you're going to be renting in Sandton. And if you are going to say, no, man, I'm actually going to rent, in a Randburg, for instance, and this is you working for the top firms, abantu bakubheka weird. So understanding you don't have to give into the peer pressure of the profession that you're in when making some of these decisions, and being calculated about them, because in as much as you can qualify for a lot of these facilities, whether it's the car or the credit card or the overdraft or the home loan facility, doesn't necessarily mean that you can afford it. And so differentiating between things you qualify for and things you can afford is so important. Financial institutions extend a lot of credit to us by virtue of getting whether degree X or promotion Y, or your cost to company is X figure. Kodwa masohlala phansi and properly run the numbers and factor in a lifestyle uyifunayo. You realize, good to know, man, this is not life. You don't want to live on overdraft or whatever the sentiment is. So that's quite a big thing that you've mentioned, Sibu. And I think one of the other big things was around furniture.
Yeah, Zama, sorry, if I can just completely agree with you there. Like I think it's such an important point. Just because you qualify for a 5 million rand bond doesn't mean you have to take it. I think that's one of the other things that a lot of us as young people working, don't take into consideration. You are able to qualify for it, but also it's also about time and place. And those are some of the things that you have to consider. Because when you get a house that costs 5 million rand, you're going to get problems as well that come with a 5 million rand house.
And listen, those problems are many. I think that the one thing that I will say to that is, and this is something that I did, and I did it knowing that I wanted to invest in property. So it's not something that a lot of people will necessarily think to do, because and that's it. And so what I did was, suppose for instance, and I'll use a lower figure. Suppose for instance you qualify for 1 million rand house, or 1 million rand bond facility rather. You qualify for 1 million rand bond facility, and you know that you are interested in sort of property investment. You want to build up a property portfolio. What you are able to do is, instead of buying one property that is, let's say, 800,000 to 900,000 or even that million rands, you're able to buy two properties that are within that million rand mark and even lower. I know when I was 26, that's literally what I did. I qualified, and it probably would have been $1 million. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was probably around about $1 million. So I come from a media background, and we know that media, media salaries in South Africa are not fancy at all. So back then I was a young media professional, and so wasn't qualifying for 3 million rand or 8 million rand bond at all. And I think I may have qualified, suppose it was $1 million rand, and instead of buying one property that was 700, 800, 900 or even that million, I bought two properties. And because I'm a bullish negotiator, I'm really amazing at that. Actually even got it below the $1 million rand sort of pre-qualification amount that I got. And for me, that was a deliberate decision about growing my property portfolio. What I wish I knew, though, I did say I'll share a little bit about what I also wish I knew. What I wish I knew, though, back then was that when you buy a bonded property, you're going to pay two sets of attorney for that. Well, you're going to pay two attorneys for that property. And this is something that, now my Yisho is like, Zama, of course it's a given. Like, that's just, that's the standard. But back then I didn't know this, right? I had done all the reading and the research and the what, but I knew that there's an attorney, like there are conveyances that are part of a property transaction. And I thought we won, right? They handle the property sale and this is what they do. Lo and behold, I decided I'm going to buy myself these two properties for my birthday, sign the offer to purchases, happy. And, get the first invoice from the attorney. I knew that this is coming. Got the second invoice. I knew that this is coming. Ticket, third invoice is in my inbox. And I'm like, what's happening here? I don't know what this is. I mize it. Fourth invoice gets into my inbox. I'm like, hey, well, when's Agalanila? Again, I think to be quite honest, I literally thought somebody had, sort of gotten my info. It's a data breach of sort. Maybe the estate agent's stuff, got leaked or something, and I just ignored it until probably 2 or 3 weeks later. Then I get a call from one of the attorneys, on some, okay, Ms. Khumalo, we're waiting for the invoice to be settled. We can't, move with this matter. What's happening? can you give us an estimate of when you're going to pay? And I was like, well, what do you mean? I've already paid these 2 invoices. I got them. And that's when they explained that, no, but we are the bond registration attorneys for, property A. And then I was like, but what do you mean? Like, and luckily